So in today's video, we're going to be wrapping, or at least attempting to wrap, the 05 Polaris Scrambler. We're going to wrap it in carbon fiber, which we've already started on the little hood. Hopefully the rest of it will go smoothly. I might have to actually do this in pieces. I might have to take the fenders off in certain sections. We'll see. Let's go ahead and start. We've already made a few upgrades to this thing, and again, for an old Scrambler, I love these older machines. They're easy to work on, easy to find parts, and we made a few additions here and a few mods with the lights, and basically that's pretty much it. This thing was in really good condition, and just basic maintenance is needed. Oiling the hubs, important. Keeping all of the fluids in check is important. So as you can see, it looks like a matte finish because I removed all of the stickers and I sanded everything down to get a nice, smooth, flat finish. I'm using a panel wipe. This is from a company called Geon. They make ceramic coatings and other auto detailing products. Amazing stuff. I use it for my own detailing business. I use that to wipe down all of the plastics, gets everything prepped and ready, removes any oils, so that way the vinyl will stick. This is the vinyl we're using today. It is from Vivid, and this thing is a 5x5, I believe, carbon fiber wrap. It's the same as this. I got a small sample to check it out, and I think this carbon fiber wrap just looks so good. It looks really nice. So that's what we're going to wrap this entire thing with. As you may already know, if you are into vinyl wrapping, already you may be seeing this and seeing lots of challenging areas, and yeah, they are. There's a lot of challenging areas here. I'm going to start with something kind of easy, the back area here, and I think we're going to have to do it in two sections, and I'm not going to be doing the middle section here because this is where the seat goes, and I don't really need to do that. Maybe if I do both fenders here and there's a space in the middle, I might put a section in the middle and just, inlay it. And you're gonna have a seam. There's gonna be seams on here anyway. There's no way to get around it. And I'm not an experienced vinyl wrapper, so this is kind of a first for me. So we'll see how it goes. So I have this whole fender here prepped and ready to go. I had to remove the mud flat and clean behind it and in front of it to make sure that it was nice and clean. No mud, nothing at all remaining. And go over it a few times. I just used a degreaser and I used a wet towel to make sure that everything was pulled out of there, because going around the edges here is going to be difficult. Now, I do have a plan for the edges. This is going to be the most susceptible area to peeling, and I'm going to use a rubber edge guard for this. So I actually have that coming in, and it's those, ugly edge guards that some people use for cars. I'm not a fan of using them for cars at all, but on an ATV, it's perfect. It's going to protect these edges and actually give it like a nice rugged look. And the rubber edging that I also purchased has metal in it, so you can actually crimp it down a little bit to make sure that it stays. So that's what I'm going to be using for all of the edging. So it's plastic, it's rough plastic, it's old, so I'm not worried about using super glue if I need to for an ATV, because I'll be mudding with it and power washing it, so I need something that will stick. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to split this in two pieces, and I'm going to put a seam right there. And it may not be the best, but you know what? It's just what we have to do. It's an ATV. There's lots of curves here, so that's what we're going to do. And I might even adjust that, but I can at least pull this out and get under it. And I'm going to do this first, and then this layer will go over it. So the seam will be that way. So the seat will be here. And I think that will be fine. It's not going to be exposing, an edge on this edge. It'll be from the inside, which I think should be better. So we'll see. Now guys, I've never installed vinyl on a vehicle before, and especially an ATV, where we have lots of curves and the plastic actually flexes as well, which makes it very difficult. So this was definitely a challenge. However, I learned a lot of things along the way, and hopefully the next project will be a little bit easier. So as I worked my way around, I learned a lot about how to stretch the vinyl, how to maneuver it around these curves so that it doesn't warp too much. But of course, I made a bunch of mistakes here, warping it a little bit too much, heating it up too much, and so forth, and I actually wasted a lot of vinyl. But again, guys, it's something that I've never done before, and it was a huge learning curve. Okay, so what I did, instead of cutting a line here, I just mushed it into all of this. And I'll cut a line here and I'll cut around the bolts. But that way, at least it's underneath the seat and it's going to stay put. No one's going to see this. It's underneath the seat. I'm not worried about it. Here's the line here. We're going to cut. And I know you see all this waste. It's not a big deal, guys. I might have to do other little pieces around here. So it's not a big deal. This is going to be piecemealed. It just has to. At least I have to do it that way. When we get into this area, this is going to be one piece that I'm going to do and maybe do a line right here. This is going to be a piece. This is going to be a piece. It's going to be crazy, but that's just what you have to do. So at least this first piece here, I'm happy with. So let's tear the tape and let's start on this. Okay, so the whole rear section now is done. I used up one whole 5x5 section, which, I don't know, for a beginner, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I did have to make a lot of cuts using the tape. I actually ran out of tape and I had to cut along here, which I really did not want to do, but I really wanted to finish this, so I had to. It's not perfect. However, it's a four-wheeler, so I think you're not going to see the seams. You can't see the seams from a distance at all. It looks like carbon fiber. It is awesome. That's an imperfection underneath. That's the plastic. It's actually a big gouge in the plastic. However, I think it covers like 90% of the defects. And you can see the line here, and I shrunk it down. I overheated that section right there, and it warped it. And, oh, and look, one little dumb area here I missed. I didn't overstretch it properly, and I cut it too early. But, you know, whatever. It's just my own mistakes, learning as I go along. Next step will be the front. That's going to be horrible. And I think I'm going to have to do tons and tons of cuts everywhere. So, yeah, I'm thinking probably a seam down the middle here, So like this will be one piece. This, I don't know if I'll be able to do this in one piece or not, but I'm going to try to do this fender in one piece. The seam will go down the center of the valley. And this piece here will be from the tip all the way to that tip, and probably a seam along this ridge line here. And then I'll put a piece overlaying this entire section up here, and then the same goes on that side. This is just an extra sheet that I took off the backing, but I might use that up here. Now, after the rear cab plastic was done, I moved on to the front cowl, which was even more of a challenge because we're dealing with all sorts of different curves and edges, and I had to really piecemeal this together and make lots of relief cuts and lots of inlays and pieces that kind of overlap each other. But overall, I think it actually came out looking pretty awesome. We are almost there. We're putting things back together now, and I got some new little bolts and washers that I'll show you in just a second that'll just, add some extra touches to this. But this was the hardest part. Probably not wrapped correctly, and I actually had to slice into this corner a little bit because the texture on the plastic under here was really bad. I probably should have sanded it a little bit more smooth, but it was too rough and it kept popping up. So I had to make a little relief cut, and it just looks ugly. But you know what? That's where the keys go, and it lays there and you don't even see it. So again, it's an old four-wheeler. I don't really care. I even had to kind of patch it here also. So we have some cross patching going on here. Again, who cares? From a distance, doesn't matter. It's gonna get covered in mud. It looks cool from a few feet away, and that's really what I wanted here. So let's put it back together, and I'll show you the little washers, the little nuts and washers that I got that will really dress this up. So I installed the edge guard on the entire front fender, all one piece, all the way around. The only thing I don't like about this edge guard is there's no good way to really end the ends here to kind of finish the ends, so I'm trying to just kind of tuck them under an area, and this kind of bolts down so it kind of keeps it secure. The other side, not so much, but hey, it is what it is. But we have these nice gold colored fender nut and bolts, and I'm not a fan of these. These are actually supposed to be rivet ends, and they can actually squish in, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to necessarily squish them in, but I had to do them this way instead because they're just not long enough, and this edge guard actually pushes the mud flap out just a tad, so it's a little short. So I don't know if I like that. I might replace all these because they kind of stick out a little too much, or they might be okay. They may be okay. It's not a big deal. Kind of gives it a nice look, but I really like the way that these look Some people may not. I like it. And of course this will be finished off with all the plastic pieces, so that'll look really nice and tidy when we're done. But I mean, so far these are pretty good. These do come in different colors, and I got gold ones here also for the blue Scrambler, because that also has the yellow components, the gold components like this, but it's a blue body, yellow seat. I think that'll kind of stand out and look really nice also. So we actually took off the whole front bumper bracket here, and I repainted everything as best as I could, including the grill cage here. And I installed the lights here. Instead of up here with that extra weird bracket, it was kind of moving. Now it's really solid, and it's actually onto the grill here, not onto the radiator, but there's a whole grill piece here that's extremely solid, and now they're, I think, placed a little bit better underneath there instead of just sticking up here. So I think that will actually be a lot better. And I did take off the front wheels, and we're painting those. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to painting the hubs today. We'll see, because I really should take them off and remove the rust, but I don't want to do that just yet, so it may look like that for now. Basically, we primed them with some rust converter here. Not a ton of rust on here, actually, and the paint was in pretty good shape. It wasn't flaking off on the rear wheels. I think it is a little bit on the front wheels. However, we based with the black Plasti-Dip. I did a few light coats of that first, and then I'm using this, which gives it just the slightest metallic pearly sheen to it. And I'm going to put one more coat, and then we'll be good to go. And the back of the wheel, I just did Plasti-Dip, just the regular black Plasti-Dip, because I'm not going to use this stuff on the back of the wheel. So I'll do the front wheels and then the front hubs as well, and everything will look really nice.